The days are getting longer and flowers are beginning to bloom, which means that spring is in the air. And while it may be time for some spring cleaning at home, it's also important to do some spring cleaning in your budget. Hi, I'm Marissa with Dollar Sprout. We make videos to help you earn, manage, and save money. Budgeting is a very important part of managing money. It helps you to have a plan for your finances by allocating all of your income to a line item each and every month. So today we're talking about some areas of your budget that may be in need of some extra attention this spring. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to the Dollar Sprout YouTube channel for more money videos. The first thing to pay attention to this spring is taking care of taxes. Now, after you filed your taxes, you may have found out if you either owed money or maybe you got a refund. If you owe money this year for taxes, make sure to include that in your budget this spring by paying that by tax day. And if you got a refund, then it's important that you have a plan for that extra income. If you missed it, we recently did a video talking about the different things that you can do with a tax refund. So if that's the case for you, you can watch that video by clicking on this eye up here. The next thing to be looking out for in your budget this spring is reevaluating your financial goals. Now that we're a few months into the new year, it's a great time for you to sit down and see how your budget is going and how your financial goals are going year to date and see if you're on track for the rest of the year. If you're married, it's a great time for you to sit down with your spouse and talk about what is going well in your budget and your financial goals and maybe what needs a little bit more work. You can evaluate if you are on track so far for reaching your goals that you set out at the beginning of the year, and maybe if you're not, figuring out what you need to do now to be able to get there by the end of the year. 2020 is actually a huge year for my husband and I, as we are expecting a baby due in May, and therefore I know that this spring is going to be crazy for us. But financial goals that we set out for ourselves at the beginning of this year were to save for a baby fund to cover all sort of baby expenses and medical costs, as well as finishing up our emergency fund. We are now homeowners and expecting a baby, so we wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of extra cushion there in case anything did come up. But once those goals are taken care of, we are planning to increase our retirement contributions, which we are really excited for, and we are looking to be on track for reaching those financial goals for this year. The next thing to make sure you are paying attention to this spring in your budget is saving for vacations. Now that we are getting into spring, you may be going on a spring break trip, or you're planning for that summertime vacation. If you're planning to go on a trip anytime in the near future, it's very important for you to be saving for that vacation. I like to save for vacations with the use of sinking funds, which basically means that you're saving for a large cost over a period of time. For example, if you know that you're going to be taking a vacation in 3 months and it's going to cost you $1,000, you could set aside $333-ish per month, and by the end of those 3 months, you'll have all the money set aside ready to be spent on your vacation. Using sinking funds in your budget, especially for vacation, is so helpful because you don't have to worry about then going into debt to go on vacation, and you are planning ahead for your travels with your budget in mind. You may also look into using an app like Hopper to track flight prices to see if you could get a good deal on some flights this summer. The next thing to be mindful of in your budget this spring is Christmas. And I know that sounds crazy, but Christmas is going to be here before you know it, and we want to make sure that your budget is prepared. Christmas is another one of those occasions that a sinking fund works really well for. You can cover the total cost of Christmas by saving up a little bit each and every month, and when December rolls around, you'll have all the money ready to be spent for gifts, holiday travel, and any other sort of Christmas expenses that may come up. My husband and I have a sinking fund for Christmas, and we've been putting money into it since January. We put $50 a month into our Christmas fund, and we also have decided to use cash back from our credit card rewards to be able to also supplement our Christmas fund at the end of the year. By saving up just a little bit every single month, it doesn't really feel like much, and it's so nice because when you get to December, your budget won't be blown out of proportion for a large Christmas expense. So if you haven't started saving for Christmas expenses yet, now is a great time to start. You can sit down and figure out how much you plan to spend on Christmas as a whole, and then divide it by how many months you have remaining until December. And by saving that amount each and every month, you'll have your Christmas fund set aside, ready to be spent when the end of the year rolls around. And the final thing to be mindful of this spring is your utilities. Now that we are having a weather change, that may affect some of your utility costs, and it's definitely important that you are including that in your budget. This totally does depend on the climate that you live in, but as we approach spring and summer, you may be spending more on electricity for your air conditioning, or maybe you end up having a lower utility bill because you don't necessarily have to run your heat or your air conditioning. I live in Portland, Oregon, and we have a pretty mild climate, and there's only a few weeks of the year that you really need to use air conditioning. So for us, springtime is actually a really affordable month in the utilities category, as we aren't having to run our heat, nor are we having to run our air conditioner. By planning for these in your budget this spring, your budget will feel refreshed as you get ready to tackle the rest of the year. If you want to learn more about budgeting, don't forget to subscribe to the Dollar Sprout YouTube channel for more videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. But in the meantime, check out this video here on budgeting, and I'll see you over there.